Right now, most investors are focused on one thing: artificial intelligence. Everywhere you look, it's the same conversation. NVIDIA, ChatGPT, the next AI startup, the next big breakthrough in machine learning. And yes, AI is a massive technological shift, but there is another revolution happening right now that almost nobody in the retail investing world is paying attention to. And strangely enough, it isn't happening in Silicon Valley. It's happening in places where technology is being pushed to its absolute limits. And the innovations coming out of that environment could end up creating one of the biggest new industries of the next decade. Because something unusual has happened in the economics of modern technology. A device that costs a few $100s can now challenge equipment worth millions. And governments around the world have suddenly realized that the rules of modern technology are changing very quickly, which means billions of dollars are about to flow into a completely new category of innovation. So the real question becomes this: will investors understand this shift early, or will they only notice it after large institutions have already positioned themselves? To understand what is happening, we need to look at a pattern that has repeated itself many times throughout history. Major technological breakthroughs often appear during periods of extreme pressure. World War II accelerated the development of jet engines, radar systems, and early computing. During the Cold War, governments funded technologies that eventually became part of everyday life. The internet originally began as a military communication network. GPS was developed for navigation systems. Satellite technology transformed global communications. In other words, governments often fund extremely advanced technology first, and years later, that technology becomes part of the civilian economy. And right now, we may be seeing the early stages of a similar pattern. Engineers around the world are rapidly experimenting with new forms of autonomous machines, particularly small aerial ones. And these innovations are happening incredibly fast, much faster than traditional research cycles. One of the most interesting technological developments in recent years is the evolution of autonomous drones. Originally, these devices were mostly used by hobbyists. People flew them for racing. Filmmakers used them to capture aerial footage. Tech enthusiasts built them in garages. But over time, engineers began adding more advanced capabilities: better sensors, better cameras, more advanced navigation systems, and eventually artificial intelligence. That's when things started to change dramatically. Because when a small device can analyze its surroundings, recognize objects, and make navigation decisions on its own, it becomes far more capable than a simple remote-controlled machine. And this technology has improved extremely quickly over the last few years. Processing chips became cheaper, computer vision improved, battery efficiency increased, and autonomous navigation systems became far more reliable. The result is a new generation of machines that can perform complex tasks in environments where traditional systems would struggle. But what really caught the attention of governments wasn't just the technology, it was the economics. Modern military equipment can be extremely expensive. A single tank can cost several $1 million. A fighter jet can cost tens of millions. Naval vessels can cost billions. But small autonomous drones can be built for a tiny fraction of that cost, and that creates a completely different cost equation. Imagine trying to defend a very expensive piece of equipment from dozens or even hundreds of inexpensive autonomous devices. Suddenly, the cost balance changes. Strategists sometimes describe this as a cost exchange problem. When inexpensive systems can challenge very expensive ones, traditional strategies need to evolve. And once governments realized this, spending started to increase dramatically. Defense departments around the world are investing heavily in autonomous systems. Some programs focus on highly sophisticated autonomous aircraft designed to operate alongside traditional aircraft. These are advanced machines powered by artificial intelligence and designed to support human pilots. Other programs focus on the opposite approach, producing large quantities of simpler, cheaper autonomous systems that can be deployed quickly and at scale. Think of it as the difference between a luxury sports car and a fleet of delivery scooters. Both are useful, but they operate on very different economic models, and both approaches are receiving significant investment. But here is the part that many investors overlook. Technologies developed for government programs rarely stay there. Eventually, they spill into civilian industries. We have seen this pattern many times before. The internet, GPS, satellite imaging, even early semiconductor research, all of these technologies were initially funded by governments. Later, they became essential parts of everyday life and created massive new industries. And the same thing could happen with autonomous aerial technology, because outside of government programs, there are dozens of industries that could benefit from these systems. Think about logistics. Large delivery networks are constantly looking for faster ways to move small packages. Autonomous aerial delivery could dramatically reduce delivery times in certain environments. Now think about agriculture. Farmers are already using drones to monitor crops, analyze soil conditions, and manage irrigation. Infrastructure inspection is another huge opportunity. Power lines, pipelines, bridges, wind turbines. These assets require constant inspection, and drones can perform those inspections faster and cheaper than traditional methods. Emergency response is another important area. Search and rescue operations, wildfire monitoring, disaster assessment, all of these tasks can benefit from autonomous aerial systems. So the technology being funded today may end up creating entirely new civilian industries tomorrow. Whenever a new technology appears, investors typically look at several layers of opportunity. The first layer includes large established companies. These firms already have government contracts and deep technical expertise. They tend to provide stability because they operate across multiple programs and technologies. The second layer includes specialized companies focused specifically on autonomous systems. These firms often grow faster, but they can also be more volatile because their success depends heavily on technological progress and contracts. And then there is a third category that many experienced investors pay close attention to: the companies providing the essential components. Sometimes this approach is called the picks and shovels strategy. The idea comes from the gold rush. During the gold rush, many people searched for gold, but the most reliable profits often came from companies selling the tools. Every autonomous drone needs sensors. Every drone needs cameras, processors, navigation software, communication systems. Companies producing these components can benefit regardless of which specific drone platform becomes dominant, and that is why this entire sector is attracting so much attention. Because several powerful trends are happening at the same time. Autonomous technology is improving rapidly. Artificial intelligence is enhancing machine perception. Processing power continues to become cheaper. And governments around the world are funding massive research and development programs. When those forces combine, they often produce massive technological shifts, similar to what we saw with the internet, or smartphones, or cloud computing. And if autonomous aerial systems follow a similar path, they could eventually become a massive global industry. Of course, every emerging technology carries risk. Not every company will succeed. Not every project will work. But understanding where innovation is happening and how technology evolves from early experimentation into large-scale industries can help investors better understand the future. So the real question is this: do you think autonomous drone technology will become one of the defining industries of the next decade? Or do you think its impact will remain limited? Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you enjoy videos that break down major technological and economic trends shaping the future, consider subscribing to the channel. Because the next wave of innovation is already beginning, and the earlier you understand it, the better positioned you can be. And finally, a quick reminder. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. Nothing in this video should be considered financial or investment advice. Always do your own research and consult with a qualified financial professional before making any investment decisions.